Hey everybody, this is Games Plus James, and today we're going to take a look at a game I made in just under 12 hours for the Ludum Dare Game Jam. I was busy for the start of the weekend, so I only had Monday to work on an entry for the jam, and it was a whole bunch of fun. I set myself the challenge of getting it all done in one day. I gave myself 12 hours, but it actually ended up being more like 10 hours with some breaks I had to take in the middle of it. So it goes to show what you can achieve when you make a small scope game. That's what I really wanted to make, something nice and simple. You can see the game on screen at the moment, kind of see how it plays. If you want to check out the game for yourself, you can follow the link on screen now or in the description down below. You'll see you can check it out for yourself, have a bit of a play. It's free to play, obviously, and it's got a WebGL build, so you can just play it in your browser. You don't have to download anything, so you can just check it out pretty easily. I mean, I think it turned out pretty fun, but obviously I'm a little bit biased in that matter. But we're here to take a look at what went into making the game, so let's jump in. So the theme for this game jam was start with nothing. So I had a few ideas bumping around in my head, but the one I kind of settled on after a little bit of thought was to make a game where you start with nothing visible in the screen and you have to fire a ball and it'll reveal an image. So you have to bounce the ball off various walls and things like that to make the image appear. And I thought it would be kind of a fun little take on the kind of classic Breakout style. So the first thing I did was I jumped in and just made up a quick little Photoshop mock-up of the game so I could get an idea for where things should lay out and how we would want the game to actually look. And then I just went and set up a quick little Unity project, got things going on a very basic level, nice and simple. And first thing first was try and lay out my level to actually match up with what that Photoshop image looked like. Very simple and very keeping things nice and easy. The whole idea, especially with such a small scope game like this, is to try and get as much of the basics in as you can early on, so then you have time a little bit later to just tweak things and add more stuff in as you go. So with that done, I obviously then jumped into writing some scripts to control the game. I made some pretty basic scripts at first just to let the ball launch without being able to control it, just to test out some other things like being able to reveal tiles as the ball flew through the level. So with that done, then I moved on to actually letting the player control firing the ball, which obviously makes things feel a little bit more better. Makes it feel like you're actually doing something in the game, and also adds a whole layer of strategy. Instead of just randomly firing the ball, you're obviously getting some more control. I then did some testing with using a tile palette for images, and at first I was a little bit unsure. I thought maybe this wasn't going to work, because in my head I was thinking that we could drop prefabs in, but I thought maybe it would be a bit complicated, but it actually ended up a little bit later being not too bad. So with that done, I knew I wanted to get some very basic 3D models made to represent the tiles. I knew I wanted triangles in our scene, for example, so I made quick little triangles. I originally was going to make an effect where triangles would disappear into the background as well. That's why you could see a slightly different one with a bit more detail with blue edges, but I ran out of time for that. There was no real time to get that done, but making the model didn't take too much longer, so it was okay. So with that done, then I moved back into making it so that if I drew the tile map, it would actually generate the level meshes. I worked out that we could just use very basic tiles and get the color of those tiles, and then with that color set up, or with that color known, I could just check on the tile grid, hey, what color is here, get that color and apply it to the material that's attached to our models. So then I could just go, hey, put that color on these tiles, and then perfect. We could have a system that allows us to just draw whatever image we want, and then we're able to apply that and make it work as something in our game. So rather than having to lay every single pixel out, we could just draw and then have that working nicely in the game. So with that done, that was pretty much the core loop of the game basically in place. I was pretty happy with that. So I added a little bit of effects just to make it look a little bit nicer than just flat colors on a screen. So just a little tweak to make things feel a little bit nicer using Unity's post-processing systems, which are built in with the lightweight render pipeline, which is what I was using in this project. So with that done, I then made some menus, giving the game the full game flow. Well, apart from a victory screen, which I ended up adding at the very end of the game. But we got our menus in, so I was good there. And now that I had the core gameplay of the game in place, I could go ahead and lay out some UI for the ball powers. So the ball powers is something I definitely wanted to get in, but wasn't sure I'd have enough time to start off with. But with time going, I was able to go, okay, I have enough time now. I can make these ball powers. So I went ahead and made them. They were a little bit more complicated than I originally thought because I had to do some particle effects and things like that. And some weird things started happening when I was firing balls, especially when I started using the multi-ball power. Some weird things started happening with the balls. They'd all start going the same direction, or else some of them would spawn and not quite move the way I wanted them to. But eventually it all kind of worked out nicely. I eventually worked out a fairly simple way to add some force to them to push them apart as they spawned. So with that done, that was, again, I was pretty happy with that whole gameplay loop. Those are the main functions that I wanted to include in the game. There's obviously more things that I would have liked to add if I had another day to work on the game, but I was pretty happy with that end of things at that point. So I decided, hey, it's time, we gotta add some sound effects and things like that in. So I got some music that I found, which was CC0 music, which was from, I believe it was all from opengameart.org, which is a incredibly useful resource for people when you're making games and stuff, and you don't have time to go ahead and make your own music and things like that, or maybe you need some help making with art to use as placeholders and things like that. It's a really great resource to use. So I got a bunch of music from there. I then got some sound effects from a sound effect library that I had previously used, which is all free to use as well, and I just chucked them into the game and tested a few different things out and made sure that they all worked nicely. What was really important as well is that the sound effects all have a random pitch element to them so that they don't all sound exactly the same, and especially when your ball is traveling and revealing all the different tiles, a little sound will play every time a tile is turned over, and if it was the exact same sound, it wouldn't sound great. Your ears would hear that and it would be just, oh, this is this horrible sound repeating over and over. But by mixing it up and changing the pitch ever so slightly, it actually makes it quite a satisfying sound it ended up being. I was pretty happy with how the sound came out in the end. So with our sound and our music added, I obviously needed to add some volume controls because we don't want to have it be deafening when the player starts the game. I know it was pretty loud on my end, so we started off with kind of a mid-level volume when you start up the game. So with that done, we've got most of our systems in place, so I went ahead and made a second level for the game just to make sure that the progression of moving from one level to another felt okay. And then, before adding more levels into the game, I uploaded a basic version, which was that the version of the game up to that point. I uploaded that version to itch.io and to the Ludum Dare website because I didn't want to run out of time at the end and go, oh god, no, I'm running out of time and I'm not going to get this uploaded. And also, I didn't want to have the situation which sometimes happens with Ludum Dare where it gets overwhelmed and the site kind of crashes and you're not able to submit a game, which obviously nobody would want to happen, because then, oh no, I didn't get a game done in the end. It was bad enough trying to squeeze it into this tiny 12-hour window. I didn't want to run out of time to actually have the game put up. So with the game then uploaded, I went back and made a few more levels for the game. Obviously, if you don't want any spoilers, don't watch the rest of these levels coming up here. But it was fun to just try and throw in a few different ones. I looked at a few different references for some ideas and got a few simple levels. It was fun to design the levels. I actually felt there was a lot of scope to design even more levels. If I had another day, I could have added 100 levels into this game. It would have been very, very easy to do with the system we had set up, but that's cool. I'm happy with the amount of levels in the game because it doesn't overstay its welcome. So with the levels all added in then, I added a final win screen at the end of the game to celebrate, hey, congratulations, you beat the game. And at that point, the game was done. So with the game in its finished state, as you can see here on the screen, a little bit of me playing through the game, I was pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Like I said, it ended up being just under 10 hours. When I went and looked back at all this recorded footage, it was just under 10 hours of me actually working on the game, which I'm pretty happy with. I'm happy with how it turned out. Obviously, like I said, there were some more things I would have liked to add. I would have liked to add the ability to unlock levels as you go through the game. Originally in my head, I was thinking that you would have a sort of par number to aim for. So say, for example, on the first level, it would say, hey, par is 3 shots. So try and complete the level in 3 shots. Or maybe be a little bit more generous, and you had to get under that shot amount to unlock the next level, maybe, for example. Or maybe you would get under the shot amount, and under a certain amount of time you would get stars for doing that, and then maybe you'd need a certain amount of stars to unlock more levels. Something like that. I don't know, something very simple to do, but just time is always ticking during a game jam, and you don't have time to add everything you want to add into the game. But again, if you're interested in checking out the game for yourself, I think it was a fun game, but I don't know unless you play it and let me know. So make sure and leave some comments down below and let me know how you get on with the game. And also, if you took part in them there, or you're looking forward to more game jams coming up very soon, you should leave a link down below and let me know what kind of games you're working on. So for now, I'll be back soon with more gaming goodness, and I'll see you all very soon.